All right, guys. We have made it to day 8 of our commitment to do 5 days of live streaming. Yeah. Just want to make sure I have everything going with this StreamYard platform I'm using. All right. Okay, great. So, yesterday or last night, we looked at how we could form a band from scratch. And the goal is to do it in 7 days because what I'm doing is I'm testing this model, testing this model live with you all because I want to be able to deliver a high amount of value. And one way to increase the value of something is to decrease the time, decrease the turnaround time, decrease the time that that you take to deliver on that um, on that service, right? Think of time as a vector, and think of value as a vector. Time and space, the amount of energy you have to put into it, right? The amount of risk you have to put into it. So all of these are, in our designed perspective, they are constraints, the same way that other things are constraints. And if you can imagine, close your eyes and imagine a very messy, like Venn diagram where you have different types of constraints. But also, if you take that drawing and uh, you rotate it like 90 degrees, you can see that there's layers there. There's actually layers. I should really draw this out. Um, and if I drew it out, you'd really get my point. So the idea here is that by playing with constraints, either adding constraints or removing constraints, because constraints are not bad, they're not good and not bad, they just are. We can we can create new possibilities, and it's no different from designing an interface for somebody or designing an interaction, right? You are interacting with the world. So we're still designing interactions, but instead of there being a page or a screen or a button that we click on, what we're doing in this show, in this studio setting, live setting, is we are um, working with, for now, I'm calling this like your life UI, your life UI, almost like in Halo. In Halo, you have the HUD, the heads up display that's supposed to be on in Master Chief's helmet. You see how many bullets you have left. You see what weapon you're using, and uh, in this era, we have a large amount of people who grew up without any sort of interface like that. A a a certain culture can give you that interface, can give you a worldview, a set of tools to work with. A religion can also give you that interface, right? But what if you don't have any of those? You don't have any kind of interface. Okay. So I think it's an awesome metaphor. That's why I'm calling it, for now, I'm calling it the designed perspective, right? The idea that you live in almost like a video game. If you treat life like a video game, well, there's no heads up display. Well, what if you could create your own heads up display? Okay, well, what's in the heads up display? You get to decide what counts as a point and what counts as losing a point. And what the different measures of strength and power and whatever these people play when they do video games. There's different measures. Um, I'm from the '80s, so when I think of that, I think of the back of the Transformer toys. That back card that you could cut out. There's a little cutout card, and it would show the strength, the power, and the speed, and other measures. Right. So you get to decide what those things are for you, and and they may change. They're constantly in flux. They may change over time, based off of what you need. An example of that is that we may have had a coping mechanism, some set of behaviors or thought patterns that got us through childhood or through teenage years. And what they say in the realm of psychology is that, well, those patterns don't serve you anymore. They served you at one time, but they don't serve you anymore. What we're doing with the design perspective is you may have to dump all of them. You may have to dump every single one of your perspectives and adopt some new things that you and me will create together, or you can create on your own, right? All right. So we played with the idea of creating a band. And just as a quick overview, we made up using our imaginations. Imagination is real. We can get ideas, we can get things from intuition if we just sit back and close our eyes and just think about it, right? So we play the guitar, and we need these other players in the band. So we make a constraint. We spin up out of thin air a constraint that we are going to use bands that we already love and that we connect with people that way, right? We find the example we use was, say, if we like Soundgarden, what else is in the orbit of Soundgarden? What other bands? What other record companies? What other labels? What other venues are associated with Soundgarden? And then we look for the watering holes for all those people. Are there band forums? Are there musician forums? Are there grunge musician forums? Right? Um, are there forums for the music, for just fans of the music as a genre, um, or do we have to zoom out? So from grunge, we zoom out to alternative, and maybe we zoom all the way out to rock and roll. Maybe we widen that constraint all the way out. So we're constantly playing with constraints and seeing which combination of constraints, right, in this sort of 3D aspect, right? If you, I'm looking at this camera through two circles, right? So I can see those two circles, and I can see how where they overlap. But if I turn it this way, I don't necessarily see it, right? Then we said we want to get to the next checklist. We want to get to a next another set of things to actually do. Next things, the next thing is that we're going to envision. And this is again when we close our eyes and we say, what would we love to have at the end? How will this look at the end? We can always pare it back later to something that we can hold. But right now, we're going to envision and dream. And one way to do that in design is called something called build the box. Another way of saying that is prototyping. But the reason why I don't use the word prototyping is that prototyping, the understanding is you that somebody may be actually using this thing, maybe clicking through this thing. Build the box is like building a cereal box or like an ad. You don't have to have anything put together, or you don't have to have anything built. You just have to make the flyer, so to speak. Now, the flyer is another constraint. There you go. So, what does a flyer do? It forces you, like a magazine cover, it forces you to limit. When we limit things, we save time. So, it forces at a limit, forces us to limit the title, subtitle. What are maybe some text items on the side, what goes on the bottom, what picture goes in the middle, right? Another exercise is we could constrain everything to a business card if that helps us get it out faster. But we can build the box. We can either make a fake website or do a mock flyer as if acting as if we're already in the future. We're going out into the future and saying this new band now um, has a show at the Glass House or the Viper Room. I don't. Those are LA names. I don't know any venues out here in Oregon. Cool. So we already talked about constraints, and we talked about building the box and stating the concept, right? Then we go wide and we just start talking to people. We go back to these forums. We email our family and friends. We go back to these forums and say, here is my concept for this band. Here is what it's all about. And here's the sound I'm going for. And if that's interesting to you, we can come and we can talk about it. We can maybe jam about it. So we also talked about how you could literally bring all those people together and make an album. Yeah, it's an experimental concept album, right? In the 70s, there are a lot of these experimental type albums. So you could do a live studio jam and just record it and burn CDs and pass it out. And there you go. You have your first album. You name it. You're done. So that's V1, right? V2 maybe putting together some actual songs, right? Doing some songwriting, and then you put it out again. Or even faster, you only do 3 songs and you create an EP. So you see, if you take these and you go on MySpace or Bandcamp or Spotify, well, guess what? Now you have 2 or 3 albums already, right? So, so we also said that the difference between implementing or taking 7 days of action versus taking 1 day of action. Let's say for some strange reason you have to put this band together tomorrow because you are in some like comedy movie with Jack Black and you have to have a band to go to this concert to this benefit concert contest battle of the bands tomorrow, right? um, so you have to go to for some you have decided it's gotten in your head that you have to attend this battle of the bands. If you really wanted to, if you stayed up all night, you could have a band by tomorrow. There's ways around it, right? You get creative, right? For example, you want to find an artist quickly, go on YouTube and look for, learn how to play guitar, learn how to play drums, learn how to play frame drum, learn how to play violin. You reach out to those people. They're sitting right there. It's very easy to contact them, right? So one of the main ideas here is that you can find a way. We are gonna put our excuses to the side temporarily. We're gonna make a reality distortion field. I want you guys to learn how to create your own reality distortion fields such that something that you think is going to take 7 weeks or 7 months, I'm going to tell you, no, that takes 7 days. And just for fun, let's see how far we could get in 1 day. How far could you get in 1 hour? How far could you get in 1 minute? Right? So you see how playing with the pressure, almost like a diamond, right? Constraints can create pressure that then turns that possibility into a diamond, something that is highly valuable. Why is a diamond valuable? So apparently, or supposedly, it is because of pressure. It is because of the elements are under pressure for um, hundreds of years, thousands of years, right? Okay. So in the time that we have left, I want to get this example because this is one of the actual examples that I have already journaled out. It's something that I've talked to somebody about already, right? Real quick, I'm gonna just check StreamYard to make sure everything is working right. See, no comments. All right. And really quick, I'm gonna flash my LinkedIn. Um, I have an open invitation to come in and work with me and to come and jump talk to me on LinkedIn, and we'll get on Zoom, and or we'll get on Skype or something. And if you're local, if you're in Oregon, I invite you to come to my studio. Right, I have this creative studio I've set up in my garage just to work with people. Right, I have everything I need, and um, I got this idea of creating a TV network. So let me sort of backtrack how I even got this idea of why T, a TV network is even on this list. So I met somebody who has created a children's healthy eating program, and to the point where it's almost like it's its own cartoon and its own world with characters, and each character is like a fruit or vegetable, and and he is has succeeded in getting the program and the workshops and all of the sort of collateral material he's created into dozens of elementary and middle schools. Awesome accomplishment, right? So I was doing some journaling one day, and the idea that came out, because I'm always thinking, well, what can this be? What is there's something bigger that we can do with this. And the idea that came about is your model is off. You're not a program. You aren't a school program because his goal was to spread it to as many people as possible. So when I hear that, I think TV. I think TV and radio. What I journaled was that, and this is just coming from the ether. I'm not any smarter than you all. I'm just sitting down and I'm listening, and I'm paying attention to what crazy ideas come in, and I write them down. It's like the pen just starts writing on its own, right? I'm not in a thinking mode at that time. So the idea is is to take that children's health workshop, right, and almost make them mascots for this work for this network. So I'm going to start by writing down what he already has: children's health workshop, um, and it's been adopted by dozens of schools. Again, an excellent accomplishment. We'll do this for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to finish. Okay. So it's 10:21. All right. Adopted by dozens of schools. Awesome. Now, what entered my head into my head was the win, 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 win element, right? Who else would like to have their own have and have access to that kind of school audience? Well, there are there are other family friendly YouTube channels. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but the idea is you could bring all these people together and make a TV network. And that's powerful than having a TV show. He was interested in having a TV show. And yeah, are you going to instantly get a lot of viewers because you're on Nick Jr. or PBS? Of course you are. Yes, of course you are. But we're also looking for quality of life. So if you can build something that you own and that you control, right? You're able to maintain. It's easier to maintain your integrity if you have your own network. So I went online and I looked at, well, what are some YouTube channels that would also be family friendly? If we had the kids health show as the anchor and as the mascot, and we name the network after that program, kids health program, right? Or as cartoon characters, right? Storylines, right? There's like health tips, right? Health tips, eating habits, right? Great program. All right. Already adopted by a dozen school. Kids health show. So we have this kids health show, right? If we do a kids health show, we can also go out onto the internet and we can find other family friendly shows. Like what's coming to mind right now is like Ryan's toy review. It's not a really good example because it's not as wholesome as it looks, right? But there are plenty of farming channels. There's farming channels, farming and homesteading, um, animals, right? There's explainer, like kind of like a Bill Nye the Science Guy. So there's amateur science channels, right? Anything that cooking, right? Millions of cooking YouTube channels, right? What you do is you say, "Hey, I'm building my own network where you have more control over your content. You aren't beholden to a lot of YouTube's rules. You can say and do what you want, right? And we're going to make a membership site. This actually exists. There are existing. Yes, it's not on television. It's not on cable, but they do have high subscriberships. So I like we subscribe to what's it called? Discovery Plus. Discovery Plus, and my kids watch a lot of the cooking shows and travel and home uh, uh, fix and flip house hunters show like Fixer Upper, right? So you can go on YouTube and you be the leader, and you can go out and find your own people and move their content over and do everything for them, right? You could do a almost like a done for you transfer service where you say, I'll even do it for you. I'll get all your content, I'll organize it well. So, just like we have Amazon Prime or Disney Plus or Netflix or Hulu, you'll have your own section on the site. And then I went, because there's an app for everything, right? So I thought, is there a I wonder if somebody has made an application for this, and somebody has done it. So it's a build your own streaming network. And you may say, Zaid, no, a streaming network is not the same as a TV network. Give it time. Again, when you create possibility, you have to make the commitment and take action, and then see what happens. Watch what happens. Watch how things fall into place. Right? Y- It may not get picked up by NBC. What if it gets picked up by another streaming service, for example, and they integrate it? So the same way that we use, there are many other networks and services inside Amazon Prime. So, for example, There's MGM. There's Paramount. I think that show Yellowstone. You have to subscribe to Paramount inside Amazon Prime. Um, I use BritBox because I watch a lot of British crime shows. That's an added cost on top of Amazon Prime, right? So right there, you can create something that gets picked up, right? Build your own streaming network, and here you're building followers. You're building a market. That's what you're actually doing. You're serving a market. So the other win-win-win is, so let's workshop this out a little bit. So content creators. Um, so there's the flagship. All right, flagship content creators, and then market. Market's easy. The market is families who want for kids to have access to safe TV. And you are the content curator, right? So your role is really curate. Your idea is, again, just like Sylvester Stallone. No, I'm an actor. I'm not a writer. I'm an actor. In this case, you're really a curator. You're like a museum, right? On TV. You're a curator. You going out onto YouTube and various whoever else has videos, um, and you are finding finding right channels, and you're reaching out to them. And again, playing with constraints, you could reach out to 100, you could reach out to 1,000. I'm going to mention one more thing before I end here, and that is there is a series called Little Hard Hats, and you have to buy the DVDs, and they weren't cheap. But discovered this show. I discovered this show, which is basically like the most wholesome kid show you could possibly imagine. Right? It is on kids on the farm, tractors, factories, airplanes, things like that. Right? Little hard hats, and I found it in a very strange way. And before I sign off, this is very interesting because this is shows us how intuition works. So I was watching a show with my wife called Elizabethtown, right? And one of the characters, the character, the one of the main characters, um, shares a VHS tape that will and says it will help your kid calm down. And so the dad who has the kid who's very like rowdy and very agitated puts this into the VHS player, video cassette player, and instantly everybody, all the kids like start paying attention because turns out kids just like normal things. So it's very simple footage. Kids like looking at construction, or looking at cranes, or looking at the bus, or looking at the police car, or the fire truck, right? You don't have to put a lot of noise and a lot of music, and you don't have to have people dancing. You don't have to have any element of like modern entertainment, right? Because a lot of that goes over kids' heads anyway, right? And these are very calm, bucolic videos. And I just died laughing because I thought, there's no way that's made up. There's no way that the director made that up. That has to be real. It has to be real. I went on Google, and what do you know? It was a real thing called Little Hard Hats. And the company Little Hard Hats actually worked with the director of Elizabethtown to make that little clip, because that's how the videos actually are. So if you watch that movie, They're actually that corny, but they work like crazy. Okay. All right. So today, and again, reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will share with you the, let's put it up. I will share with you this mind map. All right. So what we have here is how somebody, how you can, with this perspective, with this design perspective, and focus on creating possibilities and not necessarily results. We're creating possibilities, we're putting actions, we're committing to actions and putting them out into the world. And then we're seeing what the world gives back to us. And we're taking that and we are roping that right back into our efforts. And we're doing V2 and V3. Eventually get to V100 and you have what you actually dreamed about, starting from zero without waiting for the economy to change, without waiting for who's president to change, without waiting for I have to get a better job, or I have to make more money, or I have to get out of this re- relationship, or I need to move to a different part of the world to do it. No, you can start right now. That's my main message to you is that you can start and you can build right now. So right now, we just built a TV network. Very easy, very quickly, right? Is it V1? Yes, it's V1. It's V1. But it got us started. It got us started. It's much harder to go from 0 to 1 than it is to go from 1 to 2 or one to 100 actually, right? Zero is the is the hard part. And I've been at zero many times. 0 to 1 is harder than 1 to 100. Once you get to one, once you have something, watch how quickly you can leverage and you can shift gears because now you have things to work with. You have more leverage. You can do more trading. You have more. You have case studies. You have examples. You can actually physically show people. Right. Okay. So hope that all makes sense. And like I said, I invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. And this has been um, committing to 5 days of live streaming at 10 p.m. PST, day 8.